The Abominable Love, a novel by Dr. A. Ahmed. This is an intriguing epic story which resonates with love, resilience, courage, and sacrifice. Copyrights. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer, who may quote brief paragraphs for a review to be printed in a public newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This story is a work of fiction, but the entire novel is based on a real love affair between an Arab girl and an African boy. All names, characters, places, and events are either the product of the author's imagination or used literary. Therefore, any resemblance to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is merely coincidental. Chapter 48. Prayer Request for the Deceased African Husband. The Matthew Christian family's decision to shelter the suspected Arab Muslim wife, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, and her infant child has been met with disapproval by their relatives and friends. Some church leaders even advised the family members to keep the suspected Sudanese wife released on bail and her child separated from them in a rented apartment. In addition to their huge residence, Matthew's wealthy family owns another building with 8 apartments. They could easily accommodate Insaf and her child in one of their other apartments or rent a place for her. However, the family members stuck firmly to their decision to keep Insaf at their main residence. They are afraid that some Indian miscreants or Bombay gangsters known as Gonda will break into the beautiful Arab girl's apartment at night and gang rape her. India, like any other third world country, a beautiful young woman is always vulnerable and an easy target for rape or sexual harassment by sexually frustrated men. Whenever one of these villains gets the chance to assault a young woman, he will rape her in her home, or even on the street in broad daylight. Most of the poor Indian men cannot marry girls, and no young woman can fall in love with any of them. Therefore, the safest place for the beautiful Arab foreign wife, Insaf, is to stay with the same loving Christian Indian family that brought her out of the notorious Indian women's jail. In Matthew's family home, the beautiful married Sudanese girl received all the love and care that the daughter gets from her family. The best medicines, clothing, and nutrition were provided for her baby and herself. Within a few months, Insaf blossomed like a beautiful rose in that loving and well-cared-for home. Her moral integrity, friendly nature, and physical beauty attracted all who approached her. Those Christians who stood against the family's decision initially changed their positions when they were convinced of her innocence. Many Indian Christian families invited her into their homes, listened to her tragic love story, and treated her as a brave hero. At this time, the Muslim girl Insaf reminisced the hard time she spent with the Coptic Christian family members in Sudan, where she fell in love with their son, William. How she was falsely accused and brutally persecuted when the Christian pastor, David, learned that she was in a love affair with his Coptic son. The Muslim wife found a significant difference between the love of the Indian Christian family and the persecution of the Sudanese Christian family. She is now accused of the most vicious crime, which Indians consider more serious than murder, armed robbery, and terrorism. Indians say that the killer kills one person, the Muslim terrorist blows up some people in smithereens along with him, but the drug dealer kills the entire community. Despite this serious charge, the Christian Indian family trusted her, believed in her innocence, and cared for her as if she were their own daughter. Meanwhile, the trial of the accused mother, Insaf, and the 7 suspects in the drug smuggling case continued. Every 2 or 3 months, the Arab suspect girl takes her son and goes to the criminal court for a hearing, and at each visit she is asked to sign her name and go. After a full year had passed, the trial was extended to the following year. The Sudanese wife, Insaf, continued to live in Matthew's family home. During this extended period, she did not hear any news from her husband, Ding. She still believes that her husband sacrificed his life for her. She always longs for his love. She named her son after his father because she saw in that little boy his loving father Ding. Insaf never forgot those wonderful days she spent with her husband in their small nest in the shanty town of the Al-Lishash neighborhood on the outskirts of Khartoum. At the same time, the Arab girl kept herself away from the North Sudanese students in Bombay. She always remembered that fateful day when they falsely accused her of being a drug dealer and a dirty prostitute. That bitter experience prevents her from even greeting them when she meets them anywhere. But these Sudanese Muslim students envy her stunning beauty and the expensive clothes she often wears. Somehow, they found her comfortable livelihood and spread bad rumors about her. They accused her of selling her religion and conscience. They called her an apostate Muslimah, boycotted her socially, and threatened to persecute any Sudanese Arab student who associated with her. However, the Muslim wife Insaf's experience with Matthew's Christian family exposed her to a unique kind of love. A love that is not bound by any social or religious barriers. A love that does not expect anything in return for what it offers. And the love that was poured out upon her when she was accused and rejected by everyone, and was thought to be reek of an ugly crime, a bad scandal, and full of the smell of disgrace. Those who began to adore her after she came to live in the Indian Christian's house loved her because they recognized her true inner moral beauty and innocence, but Matthew's family supported her, bailed her out of jail, bathed her in their confidence, and polished her with their love. They gave her unconditional love from the beginning. The innocent Arab Muslim girl always returns love to Matthew's Indian Christian family with equal reverence. She imitates their way of life. She eats with them, sits with them, and plays with them. She did not consider their food to be forbidden for her to eat, even though she knew that the lamb, beef, and chicken they cooked are not halal meat. One day, the Muslim mother, Insaf, came and sat near the Christian mother, Mrs. Matthew, while the latter is alone in her room, kneeling on her feet, praying to her Lord Jesus Christ. She sat close to her and closed her eyes and listened to her prayer. Then she opened her eyes and said softly to Mrs. Matthew, "Auntie." "Yes, my daughter," said Mrs. Matthew in a deep voice. "Can I pray to your God?" "Yes, you can." "Can I pray to him without becoming a Christian girl?" "Yes, of course." God is love and loves everyone. He loves all people equally, whether they are Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, or even atheists. "I have one request, and I want you to ask the Lord whom you worship to grant it to me. Of course, I can pray on your behalf, but you can also pray and I will agree with you. God will still hear your prayer." "Auntie, I have now been living in your house for more than a year, and I have noticed something important about you." "What is this?" "You are so close to God. I believe that your God does not refuse any of your requests." The loving Indian Christian mother did not comment on the Sudanese Muslim mother's remark about her devotion to God. Instead, she smiled and patted her shoulder. "What is your request, my daughter?" Insaf smiled and said sadly, "Can you pray for my request, Auntie?" "Yes, I can pray to my Lord now and ask him to respond to your request, whatever it may be. Nothing is too difficult for the Lord. I want you to pray for my African husband, Ding. If he dies, I want you to ask your God to bring him back to life." The kind Christian Indian woman wiped the tears from her eyes before responding to the request of the Sudanese girl. "Okay, my daughter. As I have just told you, nothing is too difficult for the Lord. Please close your eyes and join me in praying for your husband." The Muslim wife, Insaf, closed her eyes, but could not prevent her tears from falling down her cheeks. The Christian mother, Mrs. Matthew, closed her eyes, knelt down, raised her hands to the sky, and began to cry. She cried for a long time before she raised her voice and said, "Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, because you answered our prayers and gave Insaf's husband another life. Amen." This is how the Indian Christian mother concluded her prayer to her Lord. "Amen," said the Sudanese Muslim wife Insaf, agreeing to her prayer request. Chapter 49. The Rejected Message from the Unwanted Guests. The most beautiful time of the day for the Indian Christian family is after sunset. In the evening, all the Matthew family members gather on the spacious rooftop of their balcony and have tea and snacks. They discuss the events of the day and other important family issues. This wonderful time will continue until 8 p.m., when the family members will have dinner together. After dinner ends, the members gather for prayer. After that, everyone goes to bed and sleeps. This daily practice has been part of Matthew's happy Christian family for many years. Although this practice is a daily routine, it does not feel like a monotonous religious ritual. Their evening Christian family group prayer is never limited to a boring ritual of prayer as Muslims do 5 times a day. The Sudanese Muslim girl Insaf participates and enjoys all the daily family affairs. The only activity she does not join is their Christian worship and prayers. Once dinner is over, the Muslim wife will quietly leave the balcony and go with her baby Dang Jr. to her room. The Christian family does not burden her by trying to force her to participate in their spiritual life. Even on Sunday, when the Christian members go together to church, they will ask her to choose the best video of a recently released hit Hindi movie and enjoy watching it. They never tried to convert her from Islam to Christianity or force her to go with them to their place of worship. This daily life continued for more than a year until the day came when the Muslim wife, Insaf, asked the Christian mother to pray for her late African husband, Dang. It was at the dusk time when the Muslim girl, Insaf, requested her good Christian auntie, Mrs. Matthew, to ask her God to give her Muslim husband, Dang, a new life. Shortly after the prayer, the family members gathered as usual on the balcony. It is a warm summer evening. The members sat 2 by 2. Mr. and Mrs. Matthew sat to one side. Their son Mark and his wife Lillian faced them on the other side, and behind the young couple were their 2 beautiful children playing together. Near to the children, Insaf sat with the family's youngest daughter, called Emily. All members talked to each other except the youngest daughter and the Arab wife. The 2 discuss Emily's secret love affair with her new lover. Every now and then, Emily and Insaf hug each other or clap their hands together while laughing. The Sudanese mother's 1-year-old son Dang Jr. is sleeping in her room. Nothing can disturb such a beautiful time for the Christian family and the Muslim guest who became like their adopted daughter. Their Indian maidservant answers all phone calls or doorbell rings. The phone and doorbell rang frequently that evening. The milkman and the vegetable seller came to deliver their supplies and left, but no one paid attention to the phone callers or the visitors. It is only when the Indian maid walked onto the balcony and told Insaf that she has 2 African visitors. "Don't go to them, Insaf," Mrs. Matthews said anxiously. The son's wife, Lillian, responded, "Let Mark go to them." Mrs. Matthews said to her son, "If they are one of those boys who quarreled with her in the Bombay Criminal Court complex, send them away, Mark." "Don't encourage them to come here again either," Lillian said. Mark got up and followed the maid to the door. Mrs. Matthew asked the Sudanese wife, "Do you know any African boys in this city?" Insaf answered nervously, "Not at all, Auntie. All the Sudanese students in town know her, but that doesn't mean they should come here and harass her," Emily said. Mark returned a short while later and said to the Sudanese wife, Insaf, "One of the boys said he has a message for you." "A letter from whom?" asked Mrs. Matthew. He did not mention who sent the message. "Come with me, my daughter Insaf," said Mrs. Matthew, speaking in a serious voice. The Sudanese daughter stood up and followed her Indian mother from the balcony to the house. They walked in silence until they reached the living room. Insaf saw the 2 African boys standing near the door. She couldn't recognize either of them, but from their appearances, she knew they're African Sudanese from South Sudan. She looked at them with a big question mark on her face. Mark, Lillian, Emily, and Mr. Matthew arrived in the living room and joined Mrs. Matthew and Mrs. Insaf. The 2 Sudanese boys are under the impression that if they do not speak up quickly and explain the purpose of their unexpected visit, the Indian family may either expel them or hand them over to the Bombay police. They thought that Insaf was also Indian and one of the daughters of the family. One of them said, "My name is Longar and this is my friend Augustine." None of the family members responded to the African boy's introduction. They continued to look at them and wait for more information. "Augustine has a message for Insaf," resumed Longar in a loud tone. Mrs. Matthew asked, "Where is the letter?" "This the message," Augustine said with a dry throat. Then he walked towards the youngest daughter, Emily, and presented her with the letter. He then continued with soft words, "This letter is for you, Insaf." Emily took the letter and looked at the foreign boy with a surprised face. Her mother asked, "Have you ever seen Insaf before?" "No, madam," Augustine replied. Mark said to him while smiling, "This is my Indian sister Emily." Then Mrs. Matthew went to her daughter Emily and snatched the letter from her hand. The mother said seriously, "Well, Insaf is not at home right now. When she comes, we'll give her the letter." When Mrs. Matthew finished speaking, her eyes fixed on the two African boys with a look as if to say to them, "Why are you still standing and looking at us?" Augustine said, "Well, my good aunt, is it possible for you to tell the Sudanese girl, Insaf Salah al-Junaid, the wife of Deng Majak Nasser, when she returns that if she wants to contact me, I currently live in the International Student Hostel in downtown Bombay, which is near Churchgate Station. However, I will soon travel to the capital of India because I am studying in the University of New Delhi. Well, we'll see if Insaf wants to go to that hostel or see those bad foreign boys there," Mrs. Matthew said. Augustine became confused by Mrs. Matthew's words and did not understand what she meant because he is studying at the University of New Delhi. He wants to investigate the matter, but the angry face of the Indian mother scared him. Then his friend Lunger took his hand and said to him in Arabic, "Let us go before these angry Indians fight with us, or else hand us over to the police of Bombay." As soon as Mrs. Matthew closed the door violently after the two foreign students fled the scene, Emily, Insaf, and Lillian burst into laughter. Mark clapped his hands and said to his mother, "Bravo, Mommy." "My mother scared the two Sudanese boys to death," Emily said, still laughing. "I think if we looked through the window, we could see them running away," Lillian said, also laughing. "Yes, if they come here again, I will hand them over to the Indian police," Mrs. Matthew said seriously. The Arab wife, Insaf, said, "I don't know who they are, and I don't want to see them again either." Then Mrs. Matthew shouted at her daughter, "Emily, take this letter, tear it up, and throw it in the trash." Mark shouted, "Wait a minute, mother, at least let the Sudanese girl Insaf see what is written in the letter they sent to her." "I think Mark is right," Lillian said. "Let's hear what they have to say in their letter." Emily is still laughing when she handed the unwanted message to Insaf. The Sudanese Arab wife took the envelope and looked at the written address. She saw her name beautifully printed in English. She then said as she opened the envelope, "I think they wrote it to me in English, because the two of them are African students who cannot write it Arabic." Insaf wondered in astonishment when she saw the writing. "Oh my God, what a big letter these two young men wrote to me." Then she raised her voice and began to read the large letter. "To my beloved wife, Insaf Salah al-Junaid. It has been a long time since two Arab policemen violently separated us from each other in Khartoum City." Then the Arab wife, Insaf, threw the so-called abominable love letter into the air, ran to the Indian Christian mother, embraced her, and began to cry. Mrs. Matthew responded to her strong affection and hugged her tightly. The Sudanese Muslim wife, Insaf, said while crying, "I told you, my Christian mother, that your Lord will answer your prayers. My African husband, Deng, is not dead. He is still alive and had written this letter." The news of the amazing surprise is so wonderful that everyone hugged Insaf and wept with her. The Christian family members then moved to the balcony and asked the Arab Muslim wife to read aloud the letter of her African Muslim husband, Deng. The many tears that continued to flow down her cheeks prevented her from seeing the words of the love letter clearly, and her trembling hands are unable to hold the paper. So, she asked the Christian daughter, Emily, to read the letter to her. Then the Indian girl took the letter and began to read it aloud. "To my beloved wife, Insaf Salah al-Junaid. It has been a long time since two Arab policemen violently separated us from each other in Khartoum City. On that fateful day, an Arab policeman shot me in the chest. The bullet missed my heart by a few centimeters. God saved my life and allowed me to survive. When I regained my health after spending a month in Omdurman Hospital, the police transferred me to jail. I had been accused of the crime of cohabitation and forbidden sexual intercourse between a man and his unmarried concubine and committing adultery with you. On the day of the trial, the Sharia court in Khartoum convicted me of illegal intercourse with my ex-wife Insaf, whose marriage is legally annulled by the Sharia judge. Then the judge of the Khartoum Islamic court ordered that I be flogged with 100 lashes. On Friday afternoon, they brought me near Omdurman Mosque and tied me with ropes to an iron pole. It was a very painful and so humiliating to be flogged by 2 executioners in front of a large crowd of people. I lost consciousness before the executioners had finished half of the brutal flogging. However, they continued to carry out the punishment and beat me while I was half dead until they completed 100 lashes. My body was then transferred from the Grand Mosque to the civil hospital for an autopsy. If it had not been for my father's objection, the hospital's doctors and nurses would have killed me inside the autopsy room. My father forced the civil hospital's staff to agree to transfer my presumed dead body to the military hospital. When my lifeless body arrived there, I received proper care and miraculously escaped that fatal punishment. A few months later, I was sent to London, UK, for spinal surgery. The surgery was not remarkably successful. I am now a disabled man who moves in a wheelchair. My mother and I returned to the UK for the same surgery, but it wasn't that successful either. My African father plans to send me back to England for a 3rd major surgery on my spinal cord along with my Ethiopian mother. My dear Insaf, for an exceptionally long time, I tried to find a way to contact you. I had written you many letters and sent them to my cousin Christina's address. I did not know about the drug smuggling charge until the bearer of this letter came to my house and told me about it. I am deeply sorry for what happened to you in Bombay. I didn't know that Christina was involved in such an illegal act. Augustine didn't tell me much about you. He lives in New Delhi and studies at the university there. He stated that you are still on trial and in prison in Bombay. I pray to God to save you from this malicious conspiracy that my criminal cousin Christina had involved you in. I tried to find out more about our child who was in your womb the day you escaped, but Augustine knew nothing about him or her. I hope you had given birth to our first child and that he or she is safe with you. Please write to me and tell me more about your life there. I need some time before I can fully regain my physical strength and then come and join you in India. Now I live with my parents in the Riyadh neighborhood, and I wrote their address and cell phone numbers on the back of the envelope. Finally, I want you to remember that our love is eternal. Neither race, nor color, nor tribe, nor death, nor distance, nor imprisonment can separate us from each other. Yours forever, Deng Majak Nasir. Chapter 50. A Muslim girl wearing a cross around her neck. On that wonderful evening, the happy Muslim wife, Insaf, prayed with Matthew's Christian family for the first time. Not only did she pray with the Indian Christian family, but she rejoiced and thanked God because he had answered her prayer request through the compassionate mother, Mrs. Matthew. On that beautiful day, Mark, Lillian, Emily, and Insaf stayed up late into the night. Then the Arab girl retold to them the exact details of her tragic love story with her African lover. That day happened to be a Saturday night. On Sunday morning, the Sudanese girl, Insaf, went to church with her Christian family for the first time in her life. No member of the Indian Christian family forced her or asked her to come with them. She is the Muslim wife who willingly decided to go to their place of worship and pray to their Lord Jesus Christ because he answered her prayer for her beloved African husband, Deng. After Sunday Mass was over, Mrs. Matthew took Insaf to a jewelry store and asked her to choose the gift she would like to receive. The lovely Arab wife has chosen a beautiful golden cross. It is made of pure gold. Insaf was overjoyed when her Indian mother tied the gold chain around her neck, kissed her right cheek, and then hugged her lovingly. "My beloved mother, I will never remove this cross from my neck," Insaf said with a strong feeling of gratitude, while tears of joy flowed from her beautiful eyes. "I will keep it as a memory of your love for me." When she said these words, Insaf pressed the golden cross to her chest until she felt as if it has entered her heart and set her free. Then she placed the cross on her sweet lips and kissed it affectionately. That Sunday, the Christian mother, Mrs. Matthew, her Indian son, Mark, and her Sudanese daughter, Insaf, decided to go to the university's hostel for international students to meet the good African boy who brought this good news about Deng. This university accommodation for international students is for males only. Foreign student girls have a section designated for their accommodation in the hostel of the St. Xavier Christian College, affiliated with the University of Bombay. The beloved Arab wife wants to know more about her beloved African husband through the Sudanese student, Augustine. She left her little boy, Ding Jr., to play with Lillian's children. At 5:30 p.m., Mark's new luxury Mercedes stopped in front of the International Student Hostel. It is one of the bad habits of the foreign students that whenever a beautiful young Indian lady walks in front of the gate of the International University Hostel, they stare at her and lust after her sexy body until she disappears. Some of them whistle at her, and some of them harass her with lustful words. Some of them even go to their rooms or washrooms and masturbate, and will wish upon fucking her mental image in their minds. But none of them could dream of establishing a love relationship with her or marrying her, no matter how rich and highly educated he is. This is because an Indian girl may love a dog or marry a pig, but she will not fall in love or marry an African foreign student. As soon as the foreign students saw the beautiful and sexy girl Insaf, they started their bad habit. She is wearing skinny jeans and a small sleeveless t-shirt. Her beautiful eyes and sexy body lit a fire inside the bodies of these foreign students. They thought she is an Indian girl. They would never have known who she is because she is white and has exceptionally long hair. No Arab girl from northern Sudan has ever worn jeans trousers and a sleeveless shirt like her. It is against the law in Sudan for a girl to dress like a boy. A girl will be flogged on the bottom with 53 lashes if she is caught wearing trousers and shirt, and if she does it again, she will be flogged 80 lashes and thrown behind bars indefinitely. Even Christian girls from South Sudan are not allowed to wear trousers and shirts. Every woman and girl must cover her hair with a hijab or niqab and wrap the rest of her body with an abaya and a Sudanese sari. When they saw Insaf, at least 10 northern Sudanese students approached her and wanted to help. One of the Sudanese Arab students said lustfully, "Excuse me, miss, did you come to meet someone at the hostel?" Insaf recognized the speaker as a North Sudanese based on his Arabic accent and thus ignored him. The foreign student is disturbed by the unfriendly nature of the beautiful Indian girl. Then the Arab girl, Insaf, followed the Indian son Mark and his Christian mother, Mrs. Matthew, into the international hostel complex. Some foreign students followed behind the visitors until they saw them entering the hostel cafeteria. They rarely see an Indian girl inside that university dormitory. The foreign students have turned the university hostel into the cave of Ali Baba and 44 thieves. One of the North Sudanese students shouted to his friend who is sitting inside the cafeteria and drew his attention. The boy said in Arabic, "Oh Maman, look at the beautiful Indian girl approaching you. God willing, tonight she will be naked and lying in your bed under your body and your big cock inside her tight pussy." "Amen, Lord of the worlds," the other Sudanese boy replied when he saw the beautiful and sexy girl entering the cafeteria. "Look at her legs, thighs, and hips. Also see her half-exposed breasts and tits. When she passes you, look at her big ass, which is as high as Mount Kilimanjaro." This short, lustful exchange prompted many other Sudanese students to look longingly at Insaf. They look at her sexy body as she walks in front of them, like hungry wolves who have spotted a stray deer. The beautiful Arab wife felt those degrading words as if they are a stone that hit her head and a dagger that has been inserted in her heart. They reminded her of the obscenities she heard from the bad North Sudanese Arab student in the criminal court. She tends to turn her back and shout her anger at the student who described her with those lascivious, vulgar words. However, because of the respectable Indian mother and her polite son Mark, Insaf suppressed her righteous anger within her heart. Despite that, her tears again rolled down her cheeks as they had done before in the Bombay criminal court. Before Insaf could reach the table where several Sudanese students from South Sudan are sitting, an Arab student from North Sudan approached her and inquired about the purpose of her visit. The Arab wife Insaf said in Arabic to the Sudanese student who spoke to her, "I think if I needed your help, I would have talked to you before you asked me." The Sudanese student has become extremely surprised and shocked when he heard an Indian girl speaking to him fluently in Arabic. Then his keen eyes are able to see beyond the sleeveless shirt and trousers that Insaf is wearing. His memory returned to that day when Insaf assaulted the northern Sudanese student in the criminal court, who accused her of being a prostitute and a dirty drug dealer, prompting her to throw her high heel at his face and gouge out his left eye. As a result, he moved away from her as if she is a poisonous Indian cobra that may sting him with her venomous tongue at any moment. Then he turned his back and ran out of the cafeteria and fled, as if fleeing from the daughter of the accursed devil, Satan, who is chasing him with a sharp dagger in her hand. He returned a few minutes later, followed by dozens of Sudanese Arab students. In a brief time, the cafeteria hall became crowded with many Sudanese students. By then, one of the southern Sudanese students told Insaf that Augustine had gone out, but would be back soon. When the Indian Christian mother saw that many foreign students are surrounding them, she asked her son in a loud voice, "Why are these foreign boys gathering around us like this?" Mark answered his mother, "Wait a minute, Mom." The Indian son understood every word that the Sudanese students spoke about Insaf in Arabic because he learned the language of the Arabs during his frequent business visits to the Gulf countries. Despite this, Mark pretended not to understand their language. "Look what she's wearing around her neck," one North Sudanese student shouted. "She is wearing the cross that only the infidel Christian girls wear." One of the students replied in amazement. "This is the last thing she should do," said one of the other Sudanese Muslim boys. Another Muslim boy quipped, "What do you expect from a dirty whore and a notorious drug dealer?" While the Sudanese Muslim students are surrounding the Indian visitors and commenting on Insaf's golden chain that hung from her neck so that her cross swung above her semi-exposed sexy breasts, a student with a thick long beard forced his way through the crowd and stood in front of the Sudanese Muslim girl who dared to wear the cross of the infidel Christians. His presence made all the northern Sudanese students calm and silent, as if he is Mr. President of Sudan. He is looking at Insaf with eyes from which sparks of uncontrollable resentment and anger are flying. He is breathing hard, and his body is sweating and trembling. Then he opened his mouth and said to her angrily, "Listen, woman, I am the leader of Ansar al-Sunnah al-Muhammadiyah. I am also a Sudanese Arab citizen from the city of Al-Gadarif. I personally know your father, the Honorable Muslim brother, Hajj Salah al-Junaid. He is one of the most pious and righteous Arab Muslim men in our Islamic group, committed to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Based on your origin and lineage, I just want to ask you one question in front of all these Sudanese Muslim students. Why do you wear this cross around your neck that only an infidel Christian girl wears, as you are doing now?" Insaf decided not to answer his question, but she continued to look at him as if he were a parasite meddling in other people's affairs. She has not become afraid of him and does not move her eyes from his face. "That means all those rumors I heard about you are true. You live in a Christian house of infidel Christian Indians, and you have sold your Islamic religion for the sake of the fleeting pleasure of this world." The Arab wife remained silent because she saw him as a parasite who has come to spoil her joyful day in which she visited the church for the first time and received the expensive gift of the golden cross from her good Christian Indian mother, Mrs. Matthew. "Do you know what we should do to a Muslim girl like you who spilled the bright name of Sudan and brought shame to Islam? We must return her to Sudan as quickly as possible. When she arrives there, she must be tried before the Sharia court, convicted, and hanged to death for her apostasy from Islam and turning into an impure, infidel Christian woman." Insaf remained silent and continued to look at him angrily. The religious leader understood her silence as cowardice and fear of him. Then he extended his right hand and tried to grab the cross, pulling it from her chest, throwing it to the ground, spitting on it, and then stepping on it with his dirty shoe. His hand could not hold the gold chain, but rather wandered around Insaf's chest and touched one of her half-naked breasts. She pulled herself back, raised her right hand as much as she could, and brought it down forcefully on the leader's face. The closed cafeteria hall amplified the echo of her powerful slap. Every foreign student heard it as if a bomb has exploded. A dead silence followed. One could hear a pin drop. The religious leader of Ansar al-Sunnah held his cheek with one hand. His red eyes sent sparks of anger towards Insaf. His fleshy, fat cheeks became swollen and reddened with intense anger. His teeth grind together to relieve the pain of the incredible humiliation he has been subjected to at the hands of the so-called apostate Sudanese Muslim woman who had converted to Christianity and become openly an infidel Christian girl. She is also an Arab girl accused of drug smuggling and prostitution. His plump lips protruded and formed a perfect circle, and his eyes filled with tears, but as a man, he refused to cry in front of the audience. All the students of North and South Sudan expected the same reaction from the leader of Ansar al-Sunnah al-Mohammadiyah. He roars like a wounded lion or grunts like a raging camel and jumps over the apostate Muslim girl who became an infidel Christian woman and tears her into pieces like a wild beast tearing the flesh of a helpless prey. However, the religious leader opened his vile mouth and issued his religious fatwa. This cross that you are wearing around your unclean neck and the slap you gave to my pure face will cost you your life. Then he turned his back and left the cafeteria while several bearded Sudanese Arab foreign students are following him.